guys, Mark here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be talking about some possibilities and predictions for the part 2 LR of the baby celebration. We talked about this a little bit on the podcast last night, but it's one of those things where this celebration, we know there's going to be a yellow coin LR, but I think with some of the information that we've gotten so far, like the fact that the only EZA, or like the only other new unit outside of Baby that we're getting for this first part of the celebration that we've seen is the Super 17 EZA, it does really make me think that the Part 2 LR probably should be a unit that will go on Baby's team or help to buff Baby in some way, because as it currently stands, like we've talked about Baby quite a bit over the last week in videos since he released, his whole thing with like the corroded body and mind, like he supports corroded body and mind characters, and then once he transforms into Super Baby 2, he only gets the extra damage reduction if the whole rotation is corroded body and mind. But corroded body and mind is very much still a team or a category that is not in the best place. So whilst I have no idea, of course, who the Part 2 LR is going to be, and I don't really know, I can't really say what is the most likely thing for it to be, but I feel like it being a corroded body and mind character is probably one of the best options that we could have, right, in order to strengthen Baby's team and just the overall quality of Baby in general, like taking use of the fact that he supports corroded body and mind allies as well. Because even like running this guy on Omega's team, he's still getting a bunch of extra defense and damage reduction from Omega, so it doesn't matter as much that he's missing out on this damage reduction. But then, yeah, he's just providing corroded body and mind support, which realistically on the Omega team is going to be for STR Rose, and then like nobody else, right? So I think a corroded body and mind Part 2 LR would make a lot of sense in order to make this guy significantly better. But who could we potentially see as that Part 2 LR? Now, I think one of the big ones that is quite interesting is the other unit that people had thought maybe the hint could be about that they posted, which is of course the metal cooler. Like you can see, we're just at that point in the art where his eyes have the red glow, because the red eye glow is kind of the main thing from that hint that caused people to lean more towards it being Baby over metal cooler. But I know, like, when I first saw the picture and just, you know, it was when I first woke up, opened Twitter and just glimpsed at it, and it was just all the silhouettes like stood together, I kind of immediately assumed like metal cooler army. And then, yeah, thinking about like the red eyes, that's what led people more towards the Tuffles and therefore Baby, which obviously ended up being the case. But if it was a new metal cooler, that would definitely be very cool, especially with the fact we know this guy specifically, the physical metal cooler, is going to be getting his EZA at some point. I still feel like they're going to do these cooler worldwide EZAs during the anniversary, since they did the previous worldwide LRs EZAs during the anniversary, the Namek, Goku and Frieza. So these guys I think will probably be coming in the next couple of months. So if we got a yellow coin metal cooler now who was good, because there's not going to be any real sort of power shift or power creep between now and the anniversary realistically, even if we get a new red zone for like the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest or something like that, like it's probably not going to be insanely harder than the events that we have now. So if we get this yellow coin LR that's coming out now, as long as they're good, should still be good and usable up until the anniversary. And I don't think we'll see another big jump in power creep for the anniversary like we did with the 10th year. I mean, we could, and maybe Dokkan is accelerating the power creep just in general, but obviously it would be nice if we didn't get that, because the GDC had a little bit more power creep with it as well. So even like the characters from the anniversary were already starting to struggle in some of these events. So I guess we'll see. But Metal Cooler is a very good option. He's on target Goku, so obviously he helps out with the Super 17 passive with his EZA. So that kind of all fits together quite nicely. He shares a lot of teams with Baby outside of corroded body and mind, like Artificial Life Forms, Terrifying Conqueror's Revenge. Like, he's just a really, really good, if you think about all the categories that he's on, like, he's a character that has big bad bosses. He's a character, like, it just works perfectly as a Part 2 unit for Baby, when you consider all the categories and everything that they share. If we're looking at it from the perspective of the Part 2 LR being a unit that goes on the team with the Part 1 character to significantly improve that team, then I think Metal Cooler is a really, really good choice. Now, obviously, in the past, we've seen, especially in this time slot, we've had characters like the TOP androids, and then their Part 2 LR was the Ribrianne trio, who you weren't necessarily running together, but obviously with tournament participants being a thing, you absolutely could. And last year we had the Scout of Vegeta, and then the Piccolo and Gohan, so obviously again they could go on his like Namek team. So having a Part 2 LR in this celebration that massively helps out the Part 1 unit's team seems to be a thing that has fit in this time slot before. Obviously when we've had other filler Dokkan Fests, you know, the big one that always gets brought up is the Kale and then Part 2 Super Buu. So there is no telling whether or not the Part 2 LR is actually going to be a character that helps to buff the Part 1 unit's team, or they're just someone completely unrelated and a random choice, which, I mean, the problem is that can always happen. There's no real way to predict that, but in terms of characters that would work really well with Baby, I think Metal Cooler is a really good choice. The only thing is, of course, that if he's just called Metal Cooler, that then when this guy Easy A's, they have the same name. I mean, if they make the new one a really good like floating support, and then this guy's Easy A like ramps up his slot 1 potential, then obviously that could still be fine, kind of like the Omega situation where you just have the other one floating. But yeah, obviously something like it being the Metal Cooler Army, or even the Metal Cooler Core, like the AGL one with the slightly different name, because the AGL one with his Easy A is outdated now. So it could be a new one that transforms into the core, so that he has the brackets like Metal Cooler Core after his name, so then he can link with this guy. I think that would be good. Well, actually, the AGL one didn't have that, did he? He just has the same name as this guy. So that would be definitely a good way to do it, is do the AGL transforming one as an LR, but actually give him a different name. And then that would work out quite nicely. Now, another option is the fact that I know we just had a bunch of future stuff with the Global Dokkan campaign, but we haven't had a base Goku Black in a long time. I think the most recent one, like in terms of like an Easy A or Awakening or something, we've got the STR World Tournament one. Then there was like the Int Transforming one, Easy A, that was obviously notoriously not liked and not particularly great for the meta that he released in. But we haven't had just a straight up base Goku Black. Especially, we don't have a Goku Black that has the intro where he comes down in like the green sort of like flames, and then there's the silhouette, and then you see that it's like Goku Black. That would be a really cool intro for an LR, so I could definitely see that being a thing. And as a yellow coin LR, remember these guys have 200% leader skills. So this guy's on a couple of decent categories. Things like Worldwide Chaos, Inhuman Deeds, I guess we kind of already had the big buff with Omega. Realm of Gods hasn't had a new lead for ages. Successors, Super Bosses probably won't get one with the GDC stuff, but yeah, another boss buff for Super Bosses would be pretty nice. So I think a base Goku Black could be pretty good, and base Goku Blacks do generally have a history of having like support. So again, could be another really good unit to go on the team and just provide support. Be a unit on the rotation that is buffing, helping Corroded Body and Mind. I think that could definitely be a solid option. And we've still got plenty of like Goku Black stuff that they can use or be redone in like better quality animations. So a Goku Black would be an interesting choice. And then the other one that's like a bit of a wild card, but I feel like is a character that really is only fitting for, like he's only ever going to be either a random filler Dokkan Fest or like a filler Part 2 LR, yellow coin, obviously not like Carnivore or anything, is Dabura. But I think Dabura could be an interesting option as a yellow coin Part 2 LR. He shares a couple of links with Baby. Obviously he's on Credit Body and Mind, but he's on Terrifying Conquerors. Buffs for like Demonic Power, Mission Execution would obviously be pretty good. There's plenty of material for Dabura because he doesn't really have a lot of representation in the game. So there's plenty of stuff they can do for his animations. Again, I feel like the Part 2 unit, regardless of who they are, a really good build for them is just going to be a really solid unit, like obviously hold their own and not just get annihilated by everything, but a solid defensive unit that is giving decent support, even like designed to be a floating slot 3 character. Like imagine the Part 2 LR is essentially like a Corroded Body and Mind unit that's like the extreme version of STR Bulma, right, giving a bunch of support for like multiple turns. will be really, really impactful for that team. Especially imagine like an effect like the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, whereas giving extra damage reduction to Corroded Body and Mind characters or something like that would obviously be very, very good. And yeah, Dabura is one of those characters. He's not like super, super hype, so he kind of fits perfectly for being a Part 2 Yellow Coin LR. But he could have some interesting stuff. I think I mentioned it before. I really like the idea. Someone had mentioned it in one of the streams, and I really like the idea for like a Dabura unit, and he has an active skill that is the like stone spit, where it turns the enemy to stone, and it essentially is one of those active skills that has the Ghost Usher effect, where it cancels out all the enemy's attacks for one turn. I feel like that would be really cool. That would also be really good for Baby's team, because Baby has the thing with the Giant Ape, where you can get rid of some of the enemy abilities, then having like a support unit that can get rid of the enemy's attacks for a turn. Like you can combo some of those things together in order to make the later parts of the fight much more manageable for that team. And obviously giving like Baby free chances to stack while the enemy can't attack and all that kind of stuff. So I think a Dabura would be very, very good. Because when we look at Corroded Body and Mind, this is something I've talked about in previous videos. There's not a lot of characters, as in like the individual characters. There's a decent amount of units, although it's still not really that many. But in terms of unique actual characters, I don't think we'll see a Rosé anytime soon because of the GDC. Janemba is another possible option, but I don't know, would they do another Yellow Coin LR Janemba? I mean, I guess this one is getting kind of outdated now, but it sort of feels like they wouldn't just do another Yellow Coin Janemba already. Margin Vegeta, I guess he hasn't had a new unit for a while. And of course, with the final explosion, he's on final trump card. So Margin Vegeta is on Baby's full leader skill. We could get a new Super Baby 2. That would be interesting, because obviously this is one of the things I talked about with Baby's design. The fact that he starts off as Super Baby 1, but we don't have any meta relevant Super Baby 2s for him to link with. So it would be kind of funny if the Part 2 LR was just a different form of Baby, so then they can link together. But then yeah, we've got the other versions of Goku Black. I guess like Goku Black, the like Goku Zamasu or Zamasu Goku could be an interesting choice, but with this guy getting his Super Easy A during the GDC, I think that's maybe less likely. And then yeah, there's not really many other characters to choose from. Like there's the Heroes characters that we obviously can't get like new versions of. There's the Trenchcoat 17. I mean, that would be kind of interesting. I don't know if I could see him even being on that level to get a Yellow Coin LR, but imagine like the Trenchcoat 17 just as the Yellow Coin LR, because obviously not only is he the only one of the 217s from the thing that's actually on Corroded Body and Mind, but he's an android, he's on Target Goku, like he would be helpful for the Super 17 EZA for the allies that he wants on rotation with him. So I guess that could be kind of interesting. And then obviously we talked about Mars Saiyan being a potential Dokkan Fest coming up in November because of the Divers collab, or the Divers anniversary. There could be a collab. I guess he could just drop here as a Yellow Coin LR because of Corroded Body and Mind, which, I mean, obviously I would be all for that, but I feel like that's probably very less likely. And then I did have a quick look. When it comes to Battle of Fate, because that's obviously the other part of Baby's leader skill, when it comes to the extreme characters, like, I don't think we're going to get a new Fusion Zamasu at this point, like after the GDC future stuff. Dropping a random Yellow Coin futures like Fusion Zamasu here would be super weird. I don't think we'll get a new Golden Frieza, because we just got the new Golden Frieza and Gogeta, and like this guy's Easy A. Namek Frieza, I mean, I'm sure they're probably saving that for another upcoming anniversary or GDC or something, so we can get a new Namek, Goku and Frieza, probably Final Form Frieza that transforms into full power. Obviously we're getting the Super 17 Easy A, so I wouldn't expect a new Super 17. Demon King Piccolo, I mean, he is an extreme character. We got the free-to-play one during the anniversary, but I don't know if he's really a character that I would think would fit in. Another Cell Max, but just as a Yellow Coin LR doesn't really fit. So like when you look at the characters that are on Battle of Fate, I feel like none of them really fit or make a lot of sense to be the Part 2 LR for this celebration. Now, obviously, those are the options when it comes to buffing Baby's team. The other one that people have mentioned a lot is the possibility of a Yellow Coin LR Oob, because obviously Oob fights Baby at some point while they're sort of waiting for Goku to come back and get Super Saiyan 4, if I remember the pacing of that correctly. I don't remember a lot of that part of GT. But yeah, Baby as Oob, especially this kind of Oob, like the Battlefield LR that transforms into Maj Oob, would be very similar to PyCon, because obviously PyCon has like the serious mode, and PyCon was pretty good on release. So this guy could be interesting as like a new LR. There is that random standalone STR Marjube, so he could just be a standalone one. Maybe this guy will get a super easy A sometime soon. I don't know when they'll start thinking about super easy A's for the Battlefield LRs, but an Oob is definitely an interesting choice when it comes to the Part 2 LR for Baby, because he does fight against him, but the only issue is that, of course, then he's not going to be on any of Baby's teams, he's not going to be a buff for Baby, and when you think about the teams that he is on, I mean, I guess the only real sort of like meta-relevant team he could be on is like GT Heroes, which is still a good team for sure. But yeah, he doesn't count as like a fused... He is a fused fire, sorry. He does count as a fused fire, I meant to say, because of the fusion with Boo, if he is Marjube. So he would be on like the STR Blue Goku team as well, I suppose. So I mean, I guess it's not like he'd have no teams to go on. It just would be, I think, unfortunate if the Part 2 LR wasn't buffing Baby's team, because I feel like he really needs it, especially when it comes to it being a corroded body and mind character. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Who do you think the Part 2 LR will be? Who would you like it to be, if it could be literally anyone? I mean, obviously, if I had to pick someone, I mean, obviously Marseille is a top choice, but like, if I could pick anyone without any restrictions, including Heroes stuff, could you imagine if we finally got, because we never got to see it before, the Dark Timebreaker Mask Super Saiyan 4 Broly, because of course all of the masked characters are on Corroded Body and Mind. Could you imagine that guy just randomly dropping as a yellow coin LR, like a Dark Mask Super Saiyan 4 Broly? That would be insane, but probably very, very, very unlikely. So I do think Metal Cooler is one of the best choices because of all the links and categories and everything he shares with Baby. They just go together super well. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been The Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.